You're watching South Asia Newsline, and here are the top stories we are tracking for you on Thursday, the 11th of September. India's PM Modi announces special economic package for Mauritius. Nepal's Gen Z leaders propose interim PM's name, elections in 6 months. And Geneva exhibition flags silent genocide of religious minorities in South Asia. And now for all the details. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Thursday held delegation-level talks with his Mauritian counterpart Navin Chandra Ram Gulam in Varanasi and announced a special economic package for Mauritius covering infrastructure, employment and healthcare. Calling it an investment in our shared future, PM Modi said India takes pride in being Mauritius' primary development partner. He announced support for trade in local currency, recalled last year's launch of UPI and RuPay cards, and underlined India's role in energy transition in Mauritius. The two sides also agreed to set up a Directorate of Science and Technology in Mauritius, among a number of key initiatives to boost ties. Modi reiterated India's commitment to strengthening maritime security in Mauritius, noting its Coast Guard ship is being refitted in India and 120 officers are undergoing training. Ram Gulam's visit marks the 125th birth anniversary of Sir Shiv Sagar Ram Gulam, highlighting the civilizational and spiritual ties binding both nations. And Nepal's Gen Z leaders proposed the name of former Chief Justice Sushila Karki as the interim Prime Minister and announced plans for elections in about 6 months' time, while a curfew remained in place on Thursday. The protest leaders who ousted former PM Oli have voiced frustration over corruption and lack of economic opportunities under previous old-age leaders.
As a curfew continued in Nepal's capital Kathmandu, Gen Z protesters leading the anti-establishment movement said on Thursday that corruption and political stagnation were the driving forces behind their mass mobilization. Youth leaders declared they no longer want old-age politicians in power and backed former Chief Justice Sushila Karki as the Prime Minister of interim government. At a press conference, they called for the dissolution of the parliament, while keeping the constitution intact, and announced that elections will be held within 6 months.
She has been a victim of this dirty politics. That's why we want to choose her, because she would help us build this nation. If it was all the other bodies of the government would be perfectly working, we would have picked other yachts, like people are talking about Balin, people are talking about Hugger Sampang, people are talking about other yachts. We would have picked them, but all the government bodies are totally not working in a good state. It's destroyed in many ways.
The Health Ministry confirmed that the death toll from the ongoing demonstrations has risen to at least 31, with over 1,000 people injured. Most of the protesters are young people, voicing against the government's perceived failure to fight corruption and boost economic opportunities. This led to the demonstrations being dubbed the Gen Z protests, which erupted initially as a demonstration against a social media ban. But the ban was rolled back after 19 people were killed on Monday as police fired tear gas and rubber bullets to control the crowds.
I was injured while I was protesting on September 8, but I came back again on September 9. And what I witnessed and what I wanted was the freedom of Nepali youths. The voices of Nepal was suppressed, and people were, the government was suppressing us, with the social media ban and with all the corruption going around, and we didn't have any opportunity for the employment.
The movement has since grown into a nationwide demand for change, one that has already forced the Prime Minister and other big leaders to resign.
And in Geneva, a powerful protest exhibition this week brought global attention to what organizers described as the silent genocide of religious minorities in South Asia. It accused Pakistan and Bangladesh of systematic persecution while urging the UN to end its silence. A report.
A 3-day protest exhibition held this week at Geneva's Broken Chair Monument, organized by GHRD, the Global Human Rights Defense, spotlighted what it called the silent genocide of religious minorities in South Asia, particularly Pakistan and Bangladesh. Timed with the UN Human Rights Council session, the exhibition featured graphic posters exposing atrocities, abductions and forced conversions of young girls in Sindh, destruction of temples, murders of Hindus and Christians in Bangladesh, terror attacks in Kashmir, and Baloch mothers searching for their disappeared sons. Organizers accused the UN and global community of complicity through silence, calling the violence a deliberate campaign to erase communities and criminalize faith. They said decades of reports and resolutions had yielded no justice, while victims lie in unmarked graves. Declaring silence as complicity and inaction as betrayal, GHRD urged the UN to hold Pakistan and Bangladesh accountable, tie aid to minority protection, and called civil society to break its silence.
I think it's a good initiative to raise the voices of innocent civilians, which are targets of perpetrators, and these kind of laws, like a misuse of the blasphemy laws. So this issue should be raised on that platform, and also the sessions of the United Nations, civil society and international organizations.
Moving on. Residents in Pakistan's Karachi city are worried about the flooding in the country as heavy downpour lashed through the city on Wednesday, causing dams to overflow and the city roads inundated. The Pakistan Meteorological Department has issued a severe weather warning, cautioning that heavy to very heavy rain could cause waterlogging in low-lying areas of the city. The monsoon season had brought immense destruction in parts of Pakistan, especially the Punjab province, where at least 880 people have been killed this year. At least 2 million people have been evacuated in recent weeks after floodwaters submerged nearly 4,300 villages, authorities said. The heavy monsoon rains and rising water levels of the Chenab River in Multan district left villagers stranded. Rescuers in boats were seen evacuating residents waiting in the floodwaters.
यहाँ पे बहुत शदीद बारिश है 3 दिन से, और कल सुबह से मुस्तकिल बारिश चली है यहाँ पे। कल रात से लोग परेशान हैं, डैम के पानी भरे हुए इधर सारा पीछे गडाफ की तरफ से, और पूरे मुल्क में परेशानी की सूरत हाल है। यहाँ पे लोगों के शदीद नुकसान हो रहे हैं, बहुत परेशान है लोग। रोजगार का भी मसला है, आने जाने का मसला है, घरों में पानी है, रोडों पे पानी है, बना कहीं आ जा नहीं सकते।
And Sri Lanka's legislators have voted to abolish special privileges provided to former presidents in response to a demand during recent public protest. The bill was passed this week with 151-1 votes, while other members were absent. It withdraws state funding for housing, allowances, pension, transport facilities, and an office and a staff for former president and their widows. President Anura Kumara Dissanayake, who took office last year, pledged to bring forth this bill over demands by citizens against politicians accused of being responsible for the country's worst economic crisis in 2022. The crisis led to a severe shortage of food, medicine, fuel and electricity that triggered protest and forced then-President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to resign. This also comes as former President Ranil Wickremesinghe was granted bail on August 27 after being arrested over allegations of misusing public funds while in office. In late July, the government gazetted the bill titled President's Entitlement. A petition was filed by the opposition parties challenging the bill's constitutionality. However, the Supreme Court rejected the petition and ruled in the favor of the incumbent government. India's semiconductor industry is rapidly scaling up, backed by government initiatives and global investor confidence despite global challenges. Abhishek Singh, Additional Secretary of India's Ministry of Information Technology, has said that India has begun several ATMP, that is assembly, testing, marking and packaging plans and 28 nanometer plants. But plans are to move towards advanced semiconductor manufacturing aided by the Semiconductor 2.0 and design-linked incentive schemes. He further said that we are working towards designing AI chips and GPUs in India, and when we are able to do that, we will be able to address some of the challenges that we have.
We do hope that with Semiconductor 2.0 coming in, the design-linked incentive scheme coming in, we will be able to go further on the value chain and be able to contribute to the semiconductor ecosystem. This will also help us in moving up on the AI race because we are working towards designing AI chips, we are working towards designing GPUs in India, and when we are able to do that, we'll be able to address some of the challenges that we have.
According to a recent report by Daulat Capital, investors continue to view India as a resilient market despite global uncertainties in the semiconductor industry. The report highlights that India remains resilient due to its focus on diversifying technology sources and strengthening intellectual property retention. It further stresses that Semicon India 2025 emerged as one of the fastest growing global semiconductor events. In just 2 years, Semicon India has matched achievements that took other regions a decade, emerging as a leading global semiconductor platform. And that's all in tonight's edition. We will see you same time tomorrow. Till then, good night.